Alright, so it seems like the Eagles are going to be forced into making a very difficult decision, as after over a month of this situation going on, we just got arguably the biggest update on whether or not Haason Reddick will be traded, and it sounds like it's only a matter of time before the All-Pro is moved to a different team. Speaking of that, which teams are showing interest in trading for Reddick? Meanwhile, a very interesting trade proposition just got brought up where the Eagles could land this former top 10 overall pick as a potential cornerback of the future, and on top of that, the Birds also just signed another QB to add even more competition to that room. Plus, the Eagles' most unstoppable play is not going anywhere, and the Birds are already working hard to prepare for next season. So we're going to talk about all that and more news in this video today, and we won't waste any time. Let's get straight into it. Okay, so it seems like the Eagles are really preparing hard for next season, even though we're still pretty early into the offseason, with multiple guys posting workout videos to social media in addition to the ones that we've already gotten. I mean, we obviously already have seen some clips of Jalen Hurts getting some work in, as well as cornerback Isaiah Rodgers, who I actually talked about in my last video, plus Keely Ringo has also been very active in getting work in as well, and now we have even more videos, as after Fletcher Cox retired, it seems like the young guys are getting ready to step up, as this video came out of Jordan Davis and Milton Williams getting work in together, which is definitely very exciting because those guys, again, are going to have even bigger roles next year with Fletch gone. JD, I think he's going to have to live up to the hype of being a first-round pick, obviously, and have an even better year than last year. And then Milt, I think he's a super underrated player, and he just needs a bigger opportunity to really thrive. So hopefully that's going to be next year, especially with Fletch gone. But again, it's just awesome to see them working together. And same goes for the newly acquired Saquon Barkley, as several videos of him working hard in the offseason got posted as well. And this is sure to get a ton of Eagles fans hyped up because obviously everyone's all excited about the Saquon signing, as that's still very fresh in Eagles fans' minds. And he also said that he's excited to be an Eagle, and now we got some videos of him putting in work and getting ready for next season. So it's definitely going to be scary for opposing NFL defenses when you got Saquon, if he's playing at an elite level and he stays healthy, combined with Jalen Hurts and that offensive line, along with all those elite weapons catching the ball. And honestly, I just really can't wait to watch it. And speaking of those guys that can catch the ball, one of them is AJ Brown, and we also got videos of him working out in the offseason as well, which we just talked about in my last video. But AJ also did something else recently that was very special, as he officially has started the AJ Brown Foundation, which is aimed at helping kids grow and succeed in every way possible. And now the vision of Foundation is as follows, quote, "Our vision is to cultivate a generation of resilient and confident young individuals. We believe that despite their circumstances, every child has the potential to thrive and positively influence their communities." And their mission states, quote, "The mission of the AJ Brown Foundation is to create a pathway for success that fosters resilience, confidence, and a brighter future for our youth today." So overall, I really think that this is awesome that AJ is trying to have an impact on the community in this way. And if you guys want a chance to donate to the foundation, then I'm going to leave a link down in the description. But yeah, overall, I just think that this is pretty awesome. And something else that's awesome is the NFL not banning the Eagles' best play, which of course is the QB push play, or the Tush push, or the brotherly shove, or whatever you want to call it. Now, there's obviously a lot of speculation that the NFL might ban it because of the infinite amount of crying from fans of the Cowboys, Giants, Commanders, and many other fans of different teams around the league, talking about this play is unfair, it's not a football play, it's a disgrace to the sport, rather than just admitting that the Eagles have actually found something here that they can just do better than any other team in the league.
If everyone could do it, everybody would. Where's the camera? If everybody could do it, everybody would do it.
I mean, to the people complaining, you guys do know that pretty much every other team in the league has tried it, but just no one can do it as good as the Birds, right? But anyways, it seems like the reasoning for not banning that play is exactly that. They don't want to punish the Eagles for doing something better than everybody else, with NFL executive and former Eagle Troy Vincent saying that there will not even be any proposal to ban the play this offseason, simply saying, quote, "The Eagles do it well." So that's definitely awesome, and drop a like down below for the brotherly shove sticking around. But now that that's settled, you do have to wonder if the play's still going to be that effective without Jason Kelce at the center of it. I mean, he is one of the reasons that the play has been so successful, and now he's obviously retired, so Cam Jurgens definitely has some big shoes to fill for a multitude of reasons, this being one of them. Now, I do think that the play will still be extremely successful. Maybe it'll take a little bit of a step back, and then they'll kind of figure it out, but I mean, obviously Kelce's very important to that play, but Jurgens has been able to learn from him for these past couple seasons, and obviously he's practiced it a bunch as well. Plus, you still got Jalen Hurts, who squats 600 pounds. Now you got Saquon Barkley, who squats around the same, pushing him from behind. So, plus I feel like the Eagles definitely coach it differently than every other team in the league as well, so I still expect this play to be great. And now the Birds are going to have a new quarterback practicing it, as very interestingly, they just went out and made a new free agency signing, with Adam Schefter reporting, quote, "Eagles are signing former Cowboys and Patriots QB Will Grier to a one-year deal per sources. In the past week, the Eagles now have added QBs Kenny Pickett and Grier." And this was an interesting signing to me because it seemed like the Birds were pretty much already set at the backup QB position after their trade for Kenny Pickett, making him their third quarterback on the roster at the time. But I'm sure everyone does remember Howie Roseman's comments a couple years ago saying that he wants the Eagles to be a quarterback factory. So I guess Grier is the latest addition to that, and he can come in and maybe try to compete for the QB3 position, being now that fourth guy in the quarterback room. Now, Grier has spent time with the Panthers, who he was drafted to a couple years ago in 2019, as well as the Cowboys under Kellen Moore and Doug Nussmeier, along with multiple other teams, most recently the Chargers again under Moore and Nussmeier, and his most notable moment in the NFL probably came in the preseason of this past year, as everyone knew that Grier was going to be cut with the Cowboys acquiring Trey Lance from the 49ers, and Grier went out and did his best. He balled out in the final preseason game, completing 82.9% of his passes and throwing for 2 touchdowns. So now he's able to come in, he reunites with Kellen Moore and Doug Nussmeier again, and I guess he's the Eagles' 4th QB, and he's going to try to win a roster spot. Now, I honestly kind of doubt that happens. I feel like he's kind of in a similar situation as Ian Book was last year. I mean, Pickett's going to be the quarterback too, and Tanner McKee was very nice last year in the preseason. Plus, the Birds drafted him, so I'd have to imagine he ends up being the QB3, but I guess we'll see what happens, and whether or not Grier actually has a shot at making the roster. But now moving on, we may have actually just gotten the biggest update on the Haason Reddick situation yet, as after the whole saga involving Reddick this offseason and the Eagles giving him permission to seek a trade, and then him saying he wants to remain in Philly, but only if they meet his asking price, and then the whole thing with him and Josh Sweat and seemingly the Birds having to choose between him and Reddick, we have yet another report saying what's expected to happen. This one seems kind of official, as ESPN's Jeremy Fowler said, quote, "The expectation league-wide is that he is moved at some point. The Eagles went and spent on Bryce Huff, they re-signed Josh Sweat, so they have their 2 pass rushers. Reddick appears to be the odd man out. He does want a new deal, but this is a premier guy that should have value. He wants a new contract, plus the draft capital that it's going to take to get him. Arizona could be a team to watch because Jonathan Gannon was with him 2 years ago in Philly. They had good production together. Arizona needs pass rushers, Atlanta to an extent, so there should be teams in the mix." So at this point, again, it really does seem like Reddick is going to end up being traded. I mean, Fowler said it there. The expectation is that Haas is traded, which, I mean, that's just really a hard pill to swallow because, look, I do get it. Haas wants big money that he rightfully deserves, but the Eagles just don't really want to pay a near 30-year-old pass rusher a long-term deal worth around $25 million a year or more. So they went out, they found a younger replacement in Bryce Huff, they brought back Josh Sweat for one final year while they continue to develop Nolan Smith, and it seems like Reddick is going to end up being the odd man out, like the report says, which, I mean, again, that really sucks because I do think that he's their best defensive player, but I guess it is what it is. It's going to hurt, but the Eagles still have great pass rushers that are younger, so at least that's nice. Now, as far as what the Birds can get in return, I honestly really don't know. I mean, from what's been reported, the Eagles want a 2nd-round pick and another asset, but if teams were offering that, then the deal would have already happened, and Adam Schefter did say that the Eagles are not going to budge in their asking price for Reddick, so this whole situation is really interesting. I honestly feel like there's a chance that it could drag on for a while, but I really don't know what's going to happen. I still feel like there's a small chance that he stays, but just based on the reports, it seems like that's more unlikely at this point, so you guys can give me your thoughts down in the comments. What do you think is going to happen with Reddick? I mean, is he going to get traded? Is there still a chance that he stays? And if he is traded, what do you think the Eagles could get in return? Now, one more interesting bit of information there from the report was that the top 2 destinations right now are both Arizona and Atlanta, and in Arizona, he'd be back under Jonathan Gannon, who he had his career year under in 2022, and in Atlanta, he'd add to a defense that really does need pass rushers, and a team that also just got a lot better offensively and is expected to make some noise in the NFC South next year, so it'll be interesting just to see where Reddick ends up if he is in fact traded, but for the Eagles, they just need to make sure that they can get something decent in return, and it's Howie Roseman, so I trust that he will if Reddick, again, is in fact traded. It really does suck that it seems like this is the direction that we're leaning in, and hopefully the Eagles will still be able to have a really good edge production without him, but yeah, it just sucks that Reddick looks like he's going to get traded. Now, speaking of moves that the Eagles could still make this offseason, I do want to take a look at an interesting trade proposal that was recently brought up for the Eagles to make, as we all know that the Birds do have some interesting decisions to make at the cornerback position still, and whether they want to bring somebody in to replace James Bradberry, and what that could look like. And recently, Jake Rabati of the Liberty Line speculated on something interesting, saying, quote, "The Eagles call on anyone and everyone, way more than the public knows about. Could Jaycee Horn be someone they trade for? I think it's possible. Horn, 24, has dealt with injuries in his career, but when he's on the field, he's an amazing cornerback. He's eligible for an extension and has 2 years remaining on his rookie contract, assuming his 5th-year option is picked up. I think he's more realistic than some people think. He'll fit what the team is looking to do on defense, and that's get younger core players." Now, I do think that this is actually a really interesting proposal, and something that the Eagles should definitely look into. I mean, Horn has been good when he's been healthy and on the field. He's just unfortunately had injury issues and has had to play for the Panthers, but I do think if the Eagles were to trade for him, he could come in, replace James Bradbury on the outside, and be a very, very solid player, while also being younger, and if he were to play well, the Eagles could then sign him to a long-term deal and make him a piece for the future on defense. Now, I do want to clarify again that this is all just speculation from Rabadi and now myself, but we've seen the Eagles make moves out of nowhere before, and this one makes actually a lot of sense, so I did want to talk about it briefly and get your guys' thoughts on it. So you guys let me know what you think down in the comments. Should the Eagles consider trading for Jaycee Horn? And also, you can just let me know your thoughts on anything else that I talked about in this video. And while you're at it, make sure you subscribe and also turn on notifications so you don't miss any other Eagles content coming throughout the entire offseason, free agency, the draft, OTAs, training camp, and just leading into next season. You're not going to want to miss any of it. So again, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. And also, while you're at it, make sure you drop a like to show some support. And if you want to watch another Eagles video going over some recent moves in free agency, you can check this out right here. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.